Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com on the line with Andrew Bone. The beat don't stop as we continue to move through the 2019 football season. Alabama beats up on Tennessee 35-13. Today we're talking recruiting with Andrew Bone as we close out Sunday. Bone, what's good, man? Did you enjoy the graveyard shift, the college football Saturday?
Hey, man, it was fun. It was a long day, but you know, we got through it, and you know, it was one heck of a show watching the lights and seeing all the fans react to it, and you know, getting a bunch of good feedback from recruits about it as well.
Good. Well, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about recruits. We're talking about recruiting. Let's start out with the official visitors first. Jackson Bratton and William Anderson taking official visits this weekend. I'm sure those guys were completely blown away by that atmosphere the third weekend in October. Always bringing it. It was intense. The atmosphere was electric. Give us the latest on Jackson Bratton and William Anderson.
Yeah, so both the Alabama commitments been committed to Alabama for a while, especially Jackson Bratton. I think he's the longest standing Alabama commitment, and then William Anderson, who committed to Alabama during the summer. Both of them took their official visits this past weekend, and you know, William Anderson, very solid commitment for the Crimson Tide. You know, not really anything to worry about with him. I don't even think he's taking any visits elsewhere. He's pretty much completely shut things down. Jackson Bratton, on the other hand, has taken some other visits. Has taken an official over to Nebraska. I know Tennessee's trying to get him on campus for an official visit. I'm not really worried about any schools flipping him. I think he's very solid with his commitment to Alabama. You know, not really much to worry about. I do think he's going. You know, he is enjoying the process and taking some trips and you know, kind of showing a little bit of respect to the coaches that have spent a lot of time recruiting him. But at the end of the day, he's going to sign with Alabama. He's an in-state kid. He dreamed of playing for the Crimson Tide. And yeah, he's a big piece of this recruiting class because the need for inside linebackers. Alabama's got some young inside linebackers, but you know, really they were trying to add maybe 2 or 3 inside linebackers in this class. And they've got 2 inside linebacker commitments, and Demoy Kennedy and Bratton. So I think, you know, Alabama, you know, definitely not trying to lose him, and I think he's a pretty solid commitment.
We're on the line with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com. You can catch all our coverage back on BamaInsider.com. Recapping the weekend of recruiting as Alabama beat Tennessee 35-13. Bone, Alabama offered a new running back. That's JAHMYR GIBBS. He's out of Georgia. He's currently committed to Georgia Tech. What do we know about GIBBS? He's a 3-star in Rivals. Looks like 5'10", 5'11", 200 pounds. Can you give us the backstory on JAHMYR GIBBS?
Yeah, JAHMYR GIBBS, commitment to Fort Georgia Tech, but has been just absolutely blowing up this season during his senior season. I think he leads the state of Georgia in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. So that says a lot about his ability as a player. Got that offer from Alabama on Saturday before the game started. So I'm sure that, you know, that's probably going to, you know, maybe even open up some other doors, some other schools, you know, that are out there that still looking for a running back. Even some big schools may see that Alabama offered him, and may extend him an offer. Obviously, Georgia Tech got a big win yesterday against Miami, so I'm sure he liked that. But he was in Tuscaloosa on a visit, and Alabama's definitely showing a ton of interest in him lately. Yeah, I think with you know, with the running back situation, you look at Alabama's commitment list right now. You have Roydell Williams on board. You have Kyle Edwards as well. Yeah, I don't think Alabama necessarily is saying, you know, sitting in the conference room saying, all right, we have to have 3 running backs in this class. But at the same time, I don't think they would mind adding a 3rd back. But it's got to be somebody special. And, you know, 2 guys that they've heavily recruited for a long time, Zach Evans, who was in Tuscaloosa this weekend, and Jace McClellan. McClellan currently committed to Oklahoma. Going to be back in Tuscaloosa for the LSU game. You know, those are 2 guys that they've heavily recruited for such a long time. They have interest in. And I think they want to come. I think they will probably wait to see what happens with those guys. You know, anything can happen with Zach Evans. You know, I think a lot of people were even shocked that he showed up yesterday in Tuscaloosa because he's has been scheduled to visit a few other programs over the course of the last over the last few weeks and didn't show up, and he was scheduled to visit Alabama. So everybody was kind of like, well, we'll believe it when we see it. So let's see if he actually makes the trip to Tuscaloosa, and he did. So definitely shows that he has some strong interest in the Crimson Tide, and Alabama's still very much in the race for him. So I think Alabama will kind of wait to see what happens. Final decisions from Zach Evans, Jason McClellan. Even though they offered JAHMYR GIBBS yesterday, I don't think they'll put the full court press on him just yet. But he's somebody that they really like a lot. They could easily get that green light to commit, maybe a little bit down the road.
All right, now tell us about Damian George. He's committed to Alabama. He's a teammate of Zach Evans, big boy, 6'7", 345 pounds. Pulled the trigger back in this summer of June. Where do things stand with Damian George? Is he a solid lock for the class 2020?
Well, I think Alabama's still kind of waiting to, kind of figure some things out with him. At least academic-wise, I think that's been kind of the biggest question mark. I don't think it's anything to do with, maybe him going elsewhere. Now, has he taken some other visits? Yeah, he's been to Florida, he's been to LSU, he's been to Texas A&M. He's taken some visits, kind of seeing what else is out there. But still pretty firm with Alabama, but. At the same time, like I said, I think Alabama's still kind of waiting, trying to figure out, his academic situation, make sure that he's good to go. And I think as long as everything's okay, I think he's going to be, I think he's going to stick with Alabama. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But he was back on campus this weekend for an unofficial visit. So getting some of these big name guys, especially guys that are in your recruiting class. Or even guys like Zach Evans who come into Tuscaloosa on an unofficial visit, I think it's big because they still have their official visits to use and they can come back in later on. So Damian George and Zach Evans will both be back in Tuscaloosa at some point for an official visit.
All right, the last guy, Drew Sanders, a 4-star, 6'5", 215 pounds, out of the state of Texas. Been committed to Alabama since April. Was in Tuscaloosa. What's the latest on Drew Sanders?
Well, very solid commitment. Hasn't really taken any visits elsewhere, having a tremendous senior season. We saw a picture that Malachi Moore's mother put up earlier today, a big commitment pic with all the moms involved as well. I think Drew Sanders was in it, DeMoy Kennedy, obviously Malachi Moore, William Anderson, Jackson Bratton. I think all those guys, very solid with their commitments. But I think getting Drew Sanders back on campus for the first time, since the summer, since late July, I thought that was really big for them to get him back on campus as well.
Well, a lot of great stuff, a lot of great recruiting. You can catch all the coverage back on BamaInsider.com, whether that's team coverage, the latest on Tua Tagovailoa and his status. You can catch all the coverage back on BamaInsider.com. Don't forget to join my call-in show tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And, of course, we'll have tons of coverage throughout the week leading up to Alabama's homecoming game against Arkansas.